Okay, let's try again. It's usually the sound that I have issues and problems with. This time, for some reason, it was a video. It should all be fairly simple. I've got all the kit, but let's hope this time you can hear me. Once you tell me that, then I can make a start. Let me just change my glasses ready. Let's see. Okay, so is the audio okay as well? Hopefully it is. Right, all perfect. So let's make a start one more time. So this is the outline drawing, obviously on pastel matte anthracite paper. Now that paper normally looks, here's a pad I've got, and that normally looks much lighter for those of you that have used this paper. So let me just show you what colour it normally is. So you see mine is much darker, and the reason I've managed to get it that dark is I've sprayed it first with this new Clay Fontaine Pastel Revolution Fixative. It's the first time I've done that, and for these darker papers you've now got the option, if you spray it quite liberally with this, and I have done a video of that, but I will be doing more videos and uploading it soon. So I've just done a quick video today that I haven't uploaded yet. But you spray it with this. You want to do it in a ventilated area. This is a solvent, and it doesn't smell bad, but obviously if you can smell it, that's not great anyway for your lungs. You spray it over, you let it fully dry. I think I'd rather do it the night before, to be honest, so it can dry with a hairdryer, and then it goes much darker. So as I said, that happens on the darker papers. So you've got a choice now of making it darker if you want. Now I could have done this drawing on light grey if I wanted to. The dark grey, sorry. Anything darkish would have suited this. So this is the reference photo, and I've pulled those colours out like I normally do on Photoshop. You can use any image editor, virtually all the free image editors, and I've got videos online will show you how to do this. Okay, so it's just pulling it out, gives me the idea then of the colour pencils that I need roughly, so I'll match them up. Okay, and you can do the same with Panpastels. If you wanted to match your Panpastels up to various areas, then you can do that as well. And what I thought I'd do on this one, I know lots like to buy or have bought Panpastels and they want to see how to use them. They keep wanting to see on different subjects. So I thought this would be something nice, relatively easy to show you how I do it. Anybody that's going to buy that spray, I don't make money out of it as such, but if you are buying from Jackson's anyway, you can use my affiliate link, and you can see that or go to that on my website, jasonmorgan.co.uk. It's down the bottom. Then I earn a couple of % for every sale of anything through those links, or through that link. Helps me then at the end of the year I can buy all my art materials ready for the year ahead. Okay, so that's the colours pulled out. That's the actual size I'm going to be doing. No, I'm not going to be doing all of this. I doubt I'll even finish it, but I'd like to show you some of the techniques with the eyes and perhaps a bit on the nose as well, so you can use that then on your own subjects. Just pop that out the way. And what I've got here is a small piece of just regular printer paper, inkjet paper. Nothing fancy about that at all. That's going to be my mixing palette for my pans. I selected a few pans on the side. Now none of them, let me just drag that gorilla image down again. None of the pans, and I've got the full set, is this colour blue. So that's way too grey. That's way too blue. That's too dark. That's too light. Okay, so don't expect, even if you've got the full set of whether it's pans or pastel sticks or a few sets of pastel pencils, don't expect to automatically be able to go to your set, match up a colour, have it, and just colour in kind of colour by numbers. That almost never happens. So let's take a little look and see what I can do instead. I'll have a microfiber cloth in my lap. Just use that to clean a pan. If any of the soft tools, so whether I'm using one of these knives, I use it to clean it. Not all the colour needs to come off, but a lot will. And I can do the same with these small applicators as well. So I'm hoping once I've figured out how easily to go with these live streams, and the trouble is scheduling it. That's the issue I'm having. The schedule is not working, and then I'm just going live immediately, which gives nobody any warning of what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm just going to try and match a colour like this blue. So I'm adding some blue. Need a little bit of white to make it more opaque. That doesn't look blue enough. If I just pop a bit by there, I need to go a bit more blue. Now I'm not going to see the true colour until I start going onto the paper. So let's get this out of the way. And I'll put this to the side. Now you're not going to see me mixing, but I've done that on loads of other videos. But all I'm going to do then is just, if I pull this by here instead, pull it across so you can see a bit of mixing then perhaps. So a bit of blue, a bit of that lighter colour. It's going to be a bit too blue, so I grey it down a bit. I'm working at an angle, so the dust is coming down a bit, the pastel. Okay, that's not too far off. Could even go a bit bluer, I think. So it's just a case then with these of stroking it on the surface. Nothing more complicated than that. This is the underlayer. Doesn't need to be perfect. But the beauty of it is, you see I can just blend everything together. If I want to go a bit bluer, perhaps a little bit lighter. You can go as detailed as you want with the pans and the applicators, or you can go loose. Because I'll be going over this with pencils anyway to get it that bit more accurate. See a bit bluer down there. It doesn't have to be perfect anyway. I keep saying it, but many times the person is not going to see the reference photo anyway. A bit bluer down there as well, come around the corner like that. The good thing with these pans is that it grows quite quickly, it covers quickly, much quicker than the pencils of course. Down here it goes a bit more grey. Now don't expect these applicators to last that long. They're not particularly expensive anyway, but if you're expecting them to last you, well, even 5 or 6 drawings, you're probably being a bit hopeful for that. They really don't last that long. So it goes darker around the corner, and I can just blend that together then with that blue, and then blend the blue back out as well if I want. So you see what I mean? This is just like an underlayer. It's just blocking in. One by here it's a bit darker. And then up there it'll go dark. Right here, it's a little bit darker than that. And that comes around there. Goes down for the lip, and I'll blend all that out properly a bit later on when I get more accurate. Yeah, so I'm not after accuracy at all at this stage, not as far as details anyway. I'm looking for, you know, the basics, so that's got to be darker than that, but that's okay. I can go darker than that when I get my pencils and things going as well. That's okay, like that. Then we've got some of the blue there coming around. So I'm trying not to completely obliterate that drawing when I'm working here, just to make it easier for myself to see where I've got to go. It's just light up there. And it goes a bit lighter up there as well. So I'm just glancing across. We've got online watching. Someone asked about the paper. Yes, it's just printer paper. We got somebody named Tarcisio, I think it is. A long-time fan, wanted a shout out all the way from Sicily. I've actually been to Sicily. What a wonderful looking country, although they do drive quite mad there, and I remember trying to cross the road and taking quite a while with Catherine trying to cross the road before I was told you just got to walk out on the zebra crossing and go for it. Okay, so I'll be glancing up every now and again and seeing what you guys are writing, asking, any questions. Okay, so that goes a bit lighter there. You see, so this is the base layer. This is just where I'm getting things kind of in the right place. If you're starting on a drawing at this stage and you've got your detailed pencils in your hand, you're, you know, doing it wrong. Don't think of details at all at this stage. Okay, the eyebrow up the top. think, and a bit darker. So you're just getting that in place where that's going to go. And then that one comes across like that. Got a bit of blue under the eye. I think I'll do all that with a pencil actually. So you can see it's starting to come out of kind of the shadows. For all this blue to be on the gorilla's face, it must be, I think it's sitting in shadow, and it's obviously something like a very blue summery type of sky above it, and that's what's bouncing around creating all this blue, which you'll see especially in the shadows. A bit of suggestion there of the bottom lip. Like that. So that's where that's going to live, and then we go a bit darker under here for the chin. And we'll have that out there, same here. It's going to go out there a bit. Right, okay, so that's the basics. We will have a bit of fur, but there, you see me doing fur loads of times, so I don't know if I'll even get around to doing that. Hand over there, if I do that, it'll be on a next video. So now you'd have the choice. You don't have to leave it at that with pans if you don't want to. You can continue refining it. You can continue using smaller tools and really get this stage quite accurate. So I could keep going in if I wanted to now, making smaller and smaller adjustments. But that's what I like to do with the pencils. But you see, you can go in. It's surprising how much detail you could get if you wanted to. And keep going with just these pan pastels, and lots, well, good for artists. Do some excellent drawings. Pretty much just using pans on their own. So what I'm going to skip and do now is to leave that for the pans and get this out of the way. As I said, we've got that kind of ghostly image on there now. I'm going to make a start with the pencils. Nice to see a couple of my friends on here again as well. I've got Leah Wyatt looking in. She says it's looking fab. That's great. That's about 10 minutes in, I think. Okay, what would be good early on in a drawing is to get some darks in place and some lights. So that's the basic, you know, that ghostly image that I say about. So what if I try and show you as accurate as I can. If I go like that with a reference photo, you should be able to see that eye, and you see exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Using magnets on my board. Okay, so when I start putting blacks in place, you can see that the actual pastel matte paper, even though I've got it much darker than it would normally arrive as, just move that light a bit, it's not anywhere near as dark. It's not a pure black. So when I put a black pencil on there, you should be able to see that it's going even darker. So let's get a few colours out into the eyes. Arista 365, do you still work in oils or just staying mostly with pans and pencils now? I do oils, you know, really quite frequently. People don't seem to think I'm doing oils, but every couple of weeks I'm doing oils, and I've got a really large selection of oil demos on Patreon now. So lots and lots of hours, because when you sign up on there, you don't just get access to, let me just get a darker brown a minute, don't just get access to what's new for that month, you actually get all the back catalogue as well. So you get access to, you know, 3 years worth of oils and pastels on there. So yeah, in answer to your question, long way around, yes, I am still doing oils. I've recently done a really big gorilla in oils. And that's on there, that's a very in-depth drawing. Terry says, I can never seem to get very much detail with my pastel pencils after I use the pans. I think maybe putting the pans on too thick. I've got a video on YouTube that's basically saying about, let me just put a bit of a pale blue here a minute before I forget it. Issues that you can have, let's go a bit bluer, with any soft pastels really, not just pans, if you're going too heavy. So have a look at that video, and that'll show you basically if you're going too heavy-handed with the pans, because yes, you are right, you won't get the detail on top. But it's surprising. Let me just grab a green that I forgot I would need. Let's grab a couple, because we've got greens in there. The pastel matte paper will really take a lot of layers, so you've got to go really over the top with the amount of pastel you're putting down for you not to have enough layers to put detail on top. It's not just a little amount. Just working out, you can see you don't automatically just pick up the right colour all the time. I know I want a bit of blue in there. We've also got a lighter colour down in here. Going to have some blue eventually up on there. Let's just put that in. Going to have a blue line down here. Okay, so that's a good blue. That's darker than I expected it was going to be then. So we're going to have some brown down here. Just getting a darker brown, darker, richer brown, I think there. Let's try this one. Right, that's a bit better. Every now and again I rub the pastel into the surface. So we need it richer under here. Just building it up. Let's see if we've got this green. That's nowhere near green enough, that's too green. What about this one? Even greener. So I would assume the green is from probably grass or something that's to the side, or bush even, probably to the side. There's things like that bounce light that make a big difference. And then we got dark brown on the top because that's in shadow. I'm switching in between the pencils. Did spraying this piece first add tooth to the paper or just darken it? You know what, when I actually did it, I like to really experiment and try out different things, and I like to know the answers before I ruin something with it. And I think the spraying of it added some more tooth to it. It feels a bit rougher than it normally would. I doubt very much that that will mean I'll get kind of like more layers or anything with it. I don't think it'll really make much difference at all, but only time will tell as I'm building the layers up myself. And you know, you guys try things out as well and let me know what you are finding. Do you think it's adding tooth to the paper? But it definitely give it a bit of a different feel. Phyllis, hi Phyllis, nice for you to drop in. Do you ever use coloured pencils like luminance over pastels or pastel pencils for really fine detail? Yes, what I normally use are these. So they are luminance 6901. So I've got a white and a black because I can sharpen them up really fine. They would be used for final detail, so perhaps for the little dots that we've got here, the pores. I wouldn't be using it all over to get every tiny little mark in. I don't need that. I find I can do that with pastels. I may use the white pencil just for the tiniest, brightest highlights on there. That's difficult to do with pastel because it's so fine, and you won't get a pastel pencil really any sharper than that. But I could get this pencil much sharper than that one as it is now. So that's when I would use the coloured pencils. But always remember you can put a coloured pencil over the top of the pastel as long as you will, you know, you've got enough tooth and it'll actually stay there, but you can do that. But you can't put pastel over the top of coloured pencil. So once that coloured pencil is down and on there, you can't get pastel back on top of it. Okay, so only do it last of all, because if you think of it, the coloured pencil is going to be oil or wax based. The pastel is basically kind of a pure pigment, so a dust almost. So that's why it won't stick on top of those waxy or oily pencils. Now you also need to be careful then when you're doing transferring a drawing over. If you go too hard, because these are normally like a graphite paper, then if you go too hard, put too much of that down, then you'll start to struggle again with getting the pastel onto the surface. Okay, so that's a really light colour by there. Let's have a look. It's almost like a light pink, I'd say. A light fleshy colour. Need to go a bit lighter, but there. Okay, so let's take a look at this, see if this pinky colour is okay. If you can do lots of tapping, that's because the storm has just started. I don't have a great deal of luck really with these live streams. We've had thunder before now, heavy rain, always seems to be something that we have. So the clicking is not nothing to do with me really. So as you start putting the highlights in, you can see that the starts to get to look a bit more realistic. Over here, start to put this in as well, because this will lift it when I put this highlight in. I'm going in with a blue first, a light blue, and then I'll lighten areas up. But this will automatically make it look shiny, wet. I don't want it to look, I've got to get some of these markings in there as well for it to look correct. So go a bit, see if this will come out a bit nicer, this blue. A line coming down there as well, I think I'll put that in, like that. So a bit darker, I think I'll use this one. Bit of highlight down in here as well, that glassy glossiness, wetness. This line at the bottom is quite important to put in. Bit of the white of the eye. Don't never really see much white of the eye in the gorillas. Quite a dirty white normally. Got a bit more by there, and then much lighter in that corner. I'll use a light grey there. What is your go-to art brand from Hannah. Do you mean pencils? If we're talking pencils, then it would be either the Carbothello, that's the one I started with and still my favourite probably, or the Pitt. They're very similar, got different colours in them. If we're talking pastel sticks, then Rembrandt and Jackson's are like. Panpastels is only one of those, so that's easy. Paper is always pastel matte. I have tried other papers a few times and I've never liked them. I keep coming back to pastel matte all the time. But I do try other papers just to try them out to see if something's going to be as good. But as of yet I've not found anything. Okay, so that's not too far off now. You could touch it up here and there. So re-establish the blacks a bit more. Just having a quick read through it, see if there's any other questions. Any questions you got, just ask away. Okay, so that's the basics of the eye done. That didn't take too long. I could come back in now and fiddle around, make it a bit softer looking. And I think I've got that shape a bit wrong there, so I could come back into that. Need to bring the green out a bit more to make the eye look bigger. That green really makes a big difference, doesn't it? I hope that storm noise is not too irritating. Let me try and get the microphone a bit closer. Okay, now I got the mic a bit closer. Hopefully the rain won't be as loud. A bit darker up here, with the line coming through there. Let's adjust this shape a bit. That should have come up there a bit more. Not critical, but I like to get things right. Okay, so that's the eye pretty much done. So that's the underlayer by there. I think in hindsight I would have used the dark grey pastel matte paper for this one. It's so dark now that or just left the anthracite the way it was actually. It's so dark now that my dark pencil marks don't show up as much as I normally like them to. It's okay, it's still going to work. Just going to... When you've spent a bit of time and you've got the line drawing down on there, you don't want to completely lose it. Otherwise you're going to make work a lot harder for yourself. So that's why I kind of re-establish it. You see me say about that. Frequently re-establishing lines often. And Storm is really going for it now. marvellous. But I'll battle through. This is Wales, UK, and if I stop every time it rains, I will never have a video out. So I better keep on going. So just working my way out. If ever I'm a bit confused with the lines, I can come in then with my lighter tone, so I know it's getting a bit confusing by here. That's that line. That line comes down there. I'm going really light. Then we've got this kind of little thin strip of a line there. Okay, that one. That's what I'm putting in. I know where that's going to be. So that black line is that one. This will be the lighter tone coming down, and then it goes out to the back like that and kind of drifts off. So that's that. Comes down. And we'll drift down there as well. That's the eye one. See, so you see how confusing it can be, and you can get kind of critical lines wrong. So that line here shouldn't be that dark. You see how many pencils I've got in my hand already? Yeah, somebody I think asked about the speed of pastel. If I wasn't talking so much, I could go a bit quicker as well. It is really... I know with coloured pencil you can get more detail on a smaller drawing. Okay, you can sharpen your pencils a lot more. A mistake people make fairly frequently with pastel pencils, they sharpen them too much. And they sharpen and sharpen, and then they break, because pastel pencils have got more, or pastel in general has got more pigment in them than you would find in the other mediums like coloured pencils. Okay, so they're not bound together with lots of oil or wax. So the advantage is then we've got all that pigment in there, but they can break if you sharpen them too much. And you see I'm just putting a bit of texture on the surface there. So basically just stippling my pencil and it's just sitting on the surface. So we can work larger to offset the fact that we can't sharpen the pencils as much. And that'll give us that illusion then of extreme detail. If you go really large, you see online lots of drawings will look incredibly detailed, and in reality when you see them perhaps with a hand or something by it, they're really, really large. So quite frequently I'll show my drawings and I'll actually put my hand in the frame just to allow people to see how large sometimes I'm going, not all the time. But I think the pastels then are much faster really. Let's put some of these brown pencils down. My hands are not very big, so I can't hold any more. I'll start dropping. So let's pop them back on the rack, ready for the other eye later on. Artista. Jason, did you hear that Caran d'Ache reformulated a few of their problem pastel pencils? I hope they're better than the older ones. Well, funnily enough, seeing as I kind of sparked that big issue off with their pastel pencils, no, I hadn't heard that. It would have been nice for them to have perhaps sent me something to try out, to see if I thought they'd fixed it, but no. Let's hope they have fixed it, because the pencils I had at least were a really big problem. Unusable, as you probably saw on the video, and for the price that they're charging, we don't need to have excuses. They just need to work at the end of the day. And they've been on the market for so long that I know not everybody have had problems with them, so yeah, let's just hope that it is fixed, job done, because they have got some lovely colours in their range. As I said, they need to work. You can't have a pencil that all of a sudden is extremely scratchy, or actually tears into the surface of the paper. Now, I found that sometimes with some of the really expensive pastel sticks, soft pastels, that all of a sudden you come across a bit of grit. It does seem to be grit when I've looked at it. It really does seem to be kind of a grit in there, and that's not great either. Right, okay, before I lose these lines, let's get some of these back in. So that's a really dark line going in there. That's that one, and then underneath we've got a lighter line, so I'm not pushing as hard. I'm thinking that now it looks like most of the world is going into another lockdown. I thought it might be a good idea to do a lot more of these live streams, especially if I can schedule them properly so you guys know a day or so in advance when I'm going to do it. It's not the end of the world, because like I said, you can watch it recorded anyway, but it's nice when it is live, I suppose, if you're not doing anything, to actually have the opportunity to watch it live, and you can ask your questions live as well. So around there, that comes in dark, strips out the side and dark. And if I need that to go even darker, let me see, where's he gone? I can take it to another level of darkness by using that new pastel stick in there. So you see how much darker these are? Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. Look how punchy I think I really need it to be, because even the darkest pencils will never ever get anywhere near as dark as these. You see what I mean? It brings a new, different level of tonal darkness in. Now, a lot of artists you see online, I need to sharpen this actually, they put their image into Photoshop and really darken it, boost the contrast. So what you're seeing when you're looking on Facebook and Instagram and all these others is not a true representation. And when I started off, I was using, I got the same supplies these people were using because I wanted my work to be as contrasty as theirs. So I got the same supplies, and I was always disappointed. I couldn't understand why I could not. No way could I get my darks as dark as their darks. And the reason was, as I said, because they was using Photoshop to just boost it, which is and never telling anybody that they was doing it, even when they was being asked. But fortunately, eventually I worked out a way to get the real true boost to the contrast like that. After buying virtually, let me get a little bit of a lighter brown. Let's have a look what we got. I think that's going to be way too light now. No, but it needs to be a greeny brown. Let's look at my green. And if that's too grey. That's not a bad colour, so what I'll do, it's not exactly perfect, but I will leave that out. When I get them out of my sets, I just leave them out then. Sharpen up the pencil. So I've got lots and lots of different pencils, and it can be a bit confusing. So once they've been used on the drawing and I'm happy with them, they stay out of the set then. And they're kind of on my drawing board. So they don't go back into the set and I don't get confused looking for them or anything. Okay, that's coming okay now, I think. So what I would do now, I'm going to sharpen my black up a bit more. I'm using a crank handle sharpener. And let me just get pencil out. What have we got? That comes down like that, then we've got that light blue line that'll live there, that comes around, and then we've got creases up in here. come back in and get some of these blues in place now. And then I can go even lighter. So with pastels we generally start off fairly dark, or get, you know, the mid-tone in, and then we go in lighter and lighter on top, always thinking about texture that we're trying to create. The lines are not just going in haphazardly. A bit of a lighter line coming down in here, same up on the top. I'll skip eventually then and come in there on the nose. Lines there, and then we've got a light line here. Just comparing all the time mine against the reference photo. People say about, you know, don't have to copy the reference, and you don't have to copy the reference. Use it to your advantage, but saying that, if you're a beginner or a novice, learn how to duplicate, really, how to actually make it look like the reference. And once you know how to do that, once you've kind of perfected that way of drawing, then you can start to do things like you've seen in my other videos, where I change a background, or perhaps change the lighting a bit. That's when you start to, you know, come into your own by adjusting things. If you're a complete beginner, doing things like that is very, very difficult. And I think beginners, what they really need is confidence. So they need things to work, especially when they're starting. It's nice to have something actually work, something that you're happy with. So don't overreach too much. Okay, that's coming okay. So we can move that to the side a bit. So eventually the haze will go in that direction. We go lighter down there, we've got this darker brown coming into play here. So that's that one, and then we've got kind of a purple here. We get purple. Sometimes just use a pencil on this side and it can just kind of tint it, glaze. So that pencil stays out now in my set. Unfold it a bit. I like to get the reference really, really close, because when it's so close, your eye just skips from one thing to the other. Let's get those blacks in place here. I'm not a massive fan of using screens to draw from. They're really, really useful for some subjects. Really bright ones, vibrant ones, something you can't easily print out. That's when they're almost essential. You always got to think, if you can see it on paper, print it out, there's absolutely no reason why you can't create that with your drawing. Because a printer is only using a couple of inks, and we probably got a lot more pencils and paints and things than those inks. So we should be able to do it. But if you're looking at something on a screen, it's being lit very much similar to the way it is in nature with the sun. It's being lit, and we can't always duplicate that. But when you're doing subjects, you know, like a sunset or something like that, that's when it is worth working from a screen. Because at least then you can really try to get, you know, as close as possible to the right colours and tones, even though you may not actually hit it perfectly. But I like to get, when I'm doing something like this, it's really quite muted. That's when I like to get the printout done and get it very close. It took me quite a few prints to get this as close as I wanted it to what I was seeing on screen. And you know, if you've got to do a lot of drawings, printouts, sorry, to get it accurate, then you've got to do it. There's no point having a printout, and I see this a lot with people. They print something out and the print is on probably the cheapest quality paper you can get, and it looks nothing like the photo would be, and it's being used to draw from. Well, the thing is then you're not going to ever have a chance really, or you're going to make it extremely more difficult for you to get your drawing accurate when you're working from a print that's not even accurate. So make sure, spend your time, print out, adjust it, print out, adjust it, keep going like that until you've got it as accurate as you need it. Okay, it's starting to come together a bit more. A bit lighter here on top. When I want it to be smooth, that's when I'm, you know, doing that, rubbing with my finger. Okay, somebody asks, Olivia asks what glassine is. If you buy pastel mat in a book, the sheet in between it, the separator sheet, that's glassine. It's like tracing paper. If you use tracing paper, it's just as good. You can also buy it from the art stores. You can buy them in large sheets and cut them down. They're pH neutral or acid free paper, so you know you're not harming your drawing in any way. So it's good like that. So the darkness of the nose comes down there and then comes out. What you'll find if you use Conti pencils are these big thick ones. So if you see it compared to a normal pencil, you see it's much thicker. These are very dusty. There's some nice pencil colours in there, but they're very, very dusty. You put them on and you rub them and they really smudge. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're using Conti, that they use them sparingly because they will smudge and you will probably find it more difficult then to get other colours to sit easily on top of them. Bit lighter here, separates all that off. See, if I want texture, I do like a random touching on the paper. See, I'm allowing the texture of the paper to work in my favour. Yeah, just like that. I can do the same down here as well. We want a nice line there, and then when we come out, kind of does that texture look as again. So we've got lots of benefits with pastel because we can rub it and create something really smooth like I did up here very easily, or we can kind of dot and dab with the pencils and create quite a realistic skin texture. Probably seen me do this on when I was doing elephants fairly recently. And then I can push harder again to get more of a distinct line, and that can happen quite quick. So now I'm going over it, I'm getting more accurate, more detailed as I'm building an area up. Now you could, if you wanted to, just do the underlayer over the whole drawing, but when I'm doing live streams like this, I think it's probably a bit more useful for people to see an area get kind of finished. Okay, so that line shouldn't be there. That should come up in instead. I'm just glancing up, seeing the conversations as well, and I think it was Ben who said Ben Lynn, I've used watercolour paper, it takes pastel pretty good. Some do, but once you've used something like pastel matte, then you won't go back to watercolour painting or paper, sorry, unless you're doing more expressive work that doesn't need as many layers. Because I've seen some brilliant work done on UArt type papers, but what they normally do is work really large, and they generally work more direct. So whereas I'm building layers, okay, what you see a lot of with papers like UArt is that they're actually going in with a colour, whack it down, boom, that's the line, it stays like that, and then move on to the next line and area, you know, and do a more direct drawing. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, it's just a different way. I kind of my way is more of correcting myself all the time. So I could have an area, you know, I build up an area with a layer, the first layer, then I correct that layer, then I go on to the next one, I correct it again, and I keep correcting until I haven't got any more correcting to do. And the pastel matte paper pretty much allows me to keep going with that for a long time. And usually by the time I get to the end of the drawing, I've done enough layers. Before I'm filling the tooth of the paper up, I've got it to a stage that I'm happy with it and I don't need to be correcting it really anymore. So that's, you know, I've got enough layers down. So I'm just putting a bit of this blue on top. Should be a bit darker in that nose area. Thought I'd come down a bit by here. Because there's not really any rules as far as people think, should I do the background now? Have I got to do the background first? Or, let me just think a minute while I'm doing that. Have I got to do the foreground first and then put the background in later? I see somebody do it this way and then the next time they're doing it that way, and that confused me for a long time with pastels. As I said, I like to kind of know what I should be doing. When I'm studying something at the start, I like to kind of know the rules and format, how I should be doing things. And I was struggling with that with pastel because so many people are doing things in different ways and they seem to be getting, you know, pretty similar results. And now I've been doing pastels for like just over 3 years. I kind of know the way I work, why I do it, the way I do it, and I think the reason we see a lot of people do different things is because it can be done in different ways. Let me just open the paper up a bit so I can see more of the nose. Make a bit more sense then, I think. So the general rule of thumb that I work from, let's just get a bit of green down on here a second, a dark green. Or a bit of brown. If the background needs to be kept clean, so let's say you're doing a dog portrait and you want a single solid colour on the background, I'd put that in last. Now, the reason I do that is simply because I don't want to dirty that background. If I put it in first, when I'm doing pastels, and even with pastel mat there's little bits of dust going around, pigment, powder, whatever you want to call it, then you want to keep that to a minimum chance of that dirtying the background, smudging it. If you happen to blow your pastel, which you shouldn't really be doing, but if you do, then you don't want that going on, say a black or something, browns going onto a light background. Comes up by there, up, around, what you see me do a lot on videos, if it's got, when it's got a background in there, I like to put a little bit of it in just so that I can estimate. Like here there is no real background, so it doesn't matter, but sometimes you could have a subject like this and it may have a green background, and that colour, you know, is influencing all the bounce light that you're seeing in your drawing. So you think, okay, so what do I do then, because I don't want to dirty the background like I've just said, but I need to get some in so that I can see actually how it's influencing the rest, and it'll allow me to judge my colours a bit better. So what I do then is just put a little bit of the background in. So there's not as much chance of there being a problem with muddy in the background. Just work out what's going on by here a second, but I've still got enough of it in so that I can see how it's influencing things just by putting a small amount in. You don't see people do that often, but I find it really useful to do it. Okay, that's coming along okay. Anybody got any questions? Let me know and I'll try and answer them as much as I can, as quick as I can for you. If anyone got subjects that they'd specifically like that I haven't done over on my Patreon channel, I can always keep things in mind then, because I'm like today I just dropped on, I wanted to do something that didn't have too many colours, so I didn't have loads of pencils out. So I just had a quick look around and I had no idea what I was going to do, and this just grabbed my attention. So I thought we'd go with this one. Just little bits of brown here and there. Go in there. And that's enlivening that a bit. Got a bit of purple as well. Just very lightly. There's something rich and warm bouncing around there on the light. You can see it coming down here as well. A little bit in the darks. Ben, why don't you laminate your work? Well, let me just sharpen this pencil a second while I think about that. I think I go on stuck in there a little bit. So what I've got to do then is pop it out with a blade. Right, that's that done. Now I can sharpen my pencil. So why don't I laminate my work? Well, if you think of it, pastel is now just sitting on the surface or sitting down in the tooth of the paper. So if I'm going to laminate it, so basically then you've got a piece of plastic, polyester, that's got an adhesive on the surface, and then when you laminate it, it usually is heating it up, and the adhesive then is wet and going to stick into it, and all the adhesive does is stick to the surface of basically a dust. So if you move the sheet around and bend it, you'll usually see that it'll just flap open like an envelope. So I wouldn't recommend a laminator at all. I see the principle, I see what you were thinking of, but it doesn't really work. So I'll put a bit of blue down in here and I'll darken areas then. So this is where I'm, adjusting now what I put down with the Panpastels. Getting the colours a bit more accurate. What kind of sharpener do I use? Trevor Smith. It's a Swordfish Icon sharpener. There's nothing extra special about it, but in the UK you can buy the blades for it, reasonably priced. All sharpeners, there's no sharpener out there that Pastels really won't blunt really, fairly quick. But the Icon is one I found right at the beginning, and I've stuck with it ever since because I find it lasts as long as any of the others. I've never found one that lasts any longer than it, and as I said, in the UK we can get those replacement blades, so that's really cool. Means we're not throwing out the sharpener all the time, which seems like such a massive waste. I have got a good few videos on YouTube showing testing of sharpeners and the like, so you can see for alternatives as well. So I'm not spending a massive amount of time doing this. I'm kind of, as I say in a lot of my videos, I'm getting the essence of the animal rather than trying to get every single little detail in there. I could spend a lot longer. And it's up to you if you want to spend a long time, you know, doing your art. Do you want to get it hyper realistic, photorealistic? Or are you happy with a more painterly look? There's nothing wrong with any of the different styles. It's totally up to you. See how I build the layers up by going that bit lighter on top. Will you put this on your Patreon site? I may finish it even if people want to see it finished on there. It'd be a lot more. I can do a lot more hours then. Sometimes I start off with these little drawings and people ask me to finish it, but it'll be on YouTube anyway, this drawing, so it's you don't have to pay for this. My Patreon ones are a lot longer, a lot more in depth, but don't forget, for the price then of the membership, which is like $4 or $9 for a month, you get access then to all the previous 3 years worth of videos, something like 100 videos I think I've got on there now, or over 100 videos. So something for everybody on there. Okay, let's start lightening these bits up. That's a bit too light. Let's see about this one. That's probably better. So as the lighter areas go on top, that's where that more textured look starts to come in. And sometimes you can make it look more textured than the reference as well. Make it look a bit more, you know, painterly. And that can be really nice, that from a distance it looks real, you know, very detailed, but then when a person comes up close to it, it's nowhere near as detailed as they thought. I think that's really good. That shows that an artist, you know, knows what they're doing basically when you can pull that off. Just put a few lines in. Do these small creases. Just getting a nice dark blue, I think, for the nose area. I need to go a bit darker, but that's okay. If you find the area a bit confusing, then if you squint at it, you get to see the main masses that you should be concentrating more on. Usually looking at, you know, the tonal area, the lights and darks of it. The problem is not always, or not even generally, with the colour. It's almost always with the tonal value of the lights and darks. So, you know, always keep going back to that. That's usually where you'll find your answer. Yes, Daniel asked, am I using pastel mat? Yep. This is pastel mat. This was anthracite. I showed at the beginning, I told everyone how I made it darker by spraying it with that new Clay Fontaine Fixative that I recently reviewed as well. I think that's going to be a bit of a game changer for the way that you can seal, especially the underlayers, seal it completely, not like a lot of pastel sprays, fixatives, so-called fixatives, that don't actually fix anything at all, so you generally end up losing a lot of colour or tonal value, and it's altering lots of things. And then if you rub the surface with your finger, you find that it still comes off and it doesn't actually fix things at all. But this new Clairefontaine one, as I've shown on the video, absolutely 100% fixes the pastel to the surface. So that's, as I said, that's really good. That's a bit of a game changer then for what we can do. You know, I could have sealed this, done it, you know, roughly with Panpastels if I wanted to, or pastel sticks, and even, you know, really laid it down quite heavy, and then sealed it, and then it's almost like starting again then on fresh paper. It allows you to add more layers if you fill the tooth of the paper as well, so that's really good, especially for novices, beginners. They can sometimes fill the tooth of the paper up quicker than they'd hoped or tried to. I think I'll make this line a bit more prominent in my drawing by here, because I want to separate that nose off there from that cavity area underneath. See, like that. Just makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional, I think. That pinging on the phone was just telling me that battery is going low, so if anybody's got any questions, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to continue drawing for, so, or I can continue drawing, but I can't actually see your questions to answer them. So if there's anything you want asked and answered, now is definitely your chance. So as I said, if you've got any other ideas for subjects or anything like that, let me know. Put it in the comment below if you want to, or message me, or whatever you want to do. Let's try and texture that up a bit. Let's pop some of these black dots in, these pores. There's not too many up there. Let's soften it a bit. So let's move that out the way a little bit. So that's coming on okay. It'll end up being a bit browner out here. Run some purples. We need some more darks down here eventually. So I'll go darker out there. So you can just use paper roughness to create a bit of texture like that. And then rub it in as much as you want. Smooth it out. Sometimes I like to leave drawings kind of half done as well. I think it makes areas, if you really detail an area up, so if I really detail all of this up, it can make it look even more real, because you're seeing kind of the paper where it came from, you know, the underlayers you're seeing. You see, pastel matte paper holds the pastel, so when I'm rubbing it like that, fairly firm, it's not going everywhere, it's just kind of almost bedding it in. Put a bit of blue down on there as well. And it sounds very scratchy. It's just, you know, it's because of the microphone quite close by. Thank you, Sneaks, for wishing me a Merry Christmas. The same to you as well. I think the battery is going to last a little bit longer, so I keep going a bit more. In the UK we're having a bit of a problem at the moment now with our trucks coming over from Europe, bringing our vegetables and supplies and things, because we've got a bit of a problem importing. So I had to rush out the day before yesterday and grab a turkey for Christmas a bit quick. Crazy, absolutely crazy times. Fortunately we've got art, especially now. I'm thinking lots of people's jobs have finished for Christmas, so maybe at a bit of a loose end as to what to do. So I'll try and do some of these, you know, these quick things like this. Hopefully every couple of days would be pretty good. And anybody that wants more details, you can come over then hopefully and see my Patreon channel. I think we got about almost 1,400 members on there now. That's the cheapest way possible for me to share my full-length videos with everyone. It costs me quite a bit to do individual DVDs, you know, with the postage and the shipping and all of those things. So a couple of years ago had the idea of not doing as many on the DVDs, but offering them then at a massively reduced price on Patreon, because obviously it's then download. So rather than paying something like $40 for a DVD, which I've got to ship around the world, package and all those type of things, I could do it then for just $4 a month or $9 a month, and people could opt in and out as they wanted to, and that seems to be working really well. Just thought I'd do a bit of this, the lip here. That could be a bit softer. Just doing that just kind of puts him in his position a bit more, doesn't it? Makes him look a little bit more real. Let's pop a light highlight in by here, because that'll make a bit of a difference by here. Let's brighten up a few of these areas, just I'm putting a couple of finishing touches off, because as I said, that lifts it all the highlights. I'll put a couple of darks in as well. How do you, Raphael or Lopez, how do I decide when the details are enough? Well, that's quite easy actually. I think people complicate art a lot. At the end of the day, it's your creation if you're doing it or if I'm doing mine, and I decide when it's enough when I'm happy with the drawing. So as simple as that. If I'm not happy and I think I need more details, or I'm really enjoying putting the details in, or if I'm doing details and things and I think, no, that's enough. You know, that's enough. I'm happy that everything I wanted to say about the drawing or the artwork, I've said, I've done. So when I get to that stage and I don't want to do any more, that's it. It's finished. So there's no set rules. Don't think that you've got loads and loads of set rules you've got to follow. When you think it's enough for you, that's enough. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that at all. Some people like lots of details. Some people like less details. You decide what you want to do. I gravitate towards more details, always have done, probably always will do. That's the kind of drawings that I like, and even when I try to do less details, as lots of my Patreon members will tell you, I still end up doing details. So I say to them that I'm just gonna do something really loose this time. That's how I generally start. I may have seen somebody that has done a piece of artwork that I really liked, and it may have been done in a very loose style, and I think, yeah, I'll try and do something along those lines. I'm going to do something loose as well, and then once I've got it nice and loose, then I end up detailing and detailing. So you know, it's like I say, it's totally up to you what you do. There's no right and wrong. Don't let anyone tell you any different, because the main thing with art is enjoying it. A lot of people get roped up in silly little things like tracing, cheating. That's a classic one. Is doing photorealism, any point to it. That's another classic one. When all these people are discussing this and having heated conversations, what I'm normally doing then is actually drawing. So I leave them to get on with that and wasting their time while I'm enjoying myself instead. Challenging myself to see if I can create things that looks real. If I can create various textures. That's what it's all about. Okay, I don't think I've got a massive amount left to do. I've got about 100 people watching all the time, so that's really cool. That's a good number. I'm happy that people found me today after our false start at the beginning, which didn't go that great. I'll do a bit more research now on how to schedule and things. This could be a bit of a richer colour here. I will lift it a bit there and up there. See these little touches of brown. I'm just giving a bit of a squint now and seeing if there's some highlights I could put on, more highlights. So does anybody have any specific kind of pastel questions? Is there any problems you're having with pastels or issues you're having? This is a reference photo from Fixative, the free reference photo site. I try to use those quite frequently on my Patreon channel if I don't have the photo myself, because obviously we sell our own reference photos as well, but sometimes there's a specific subject or a specific lighting effect that I want to display, so I'll use those then, because that's quite easy then. It doesn't cost the members anything to get additional reference photos. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I think I'll call that a day on this one. I'm not sure how long I went on for, probably way too long. And I may do the other side as well, but I've shown you the techniques, the building of the layers, even darkening that pastel matte paper to start with, which can be advantageous as well for people. It also softens the paper a bit, as in you can bend it, so you could then roll up the artwork and put it in tube if you sealed it first. So hopefully this has shown up on the screen okay. Can't quite tell looking at the photo on the screen. Usually the reference photo shows up a bit lighter for whatever reason, the light bouncing back, but hope you've enjoyed this quick sketch, and I'll see you all again on the next video.